Hello, you're listening to Recommendations for My Otaku Spouse. I'm Jen.
And I'm Wes.
So let's get started.
So today we are back, and Jennifer here has watched her first ever Gundam series.
Oh my goodness, how have I been an anime fan for so long and not watched Gundam?
I don't know, it's actually very difficult to imagine.
Well, I know a lot about Gundam because anime. But yeah, you're right. I had never seen Gundam properly. When I was younger, I did kind of watch Gundam Wing, but I don't remember anything, and I know I didn't finish it, so I don't think that counts.
Fair enough. I'm also pretty sure that at least a lot of people in America have watched part of Gundam Wing, because it was outside of things like Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and Pokemon, one of the biggest anime in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
But which Gundam did you watch?
Oh, I watched one called Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. They're all Mobile Suit Gundam. That just usually... Actually, no, I take that back. G Gundam was Mobile Fighter Gundam. Mobile Fighter G Gundam. But that's because
they're all Gundams to me.
No, there's a lot of different types of mobile suits.
I know. Okay, so I know Wes really likes Gundam because besides the fact that for several years he's been like, we should watch Gundam Thunderbolt, the fact that pretty much every single time we go to an anime convention and there's a quiz and Gundam's involved, he knows the exact model numbers for every single one.
Yeah, but we had to stop doing that as part of Anime Jeopardy, which you should check out at this year's Komoricon.
In Portland, Oregon,
because people didn't know the model numbers, so they made it easier.
That's because people aren't massive nerds like you.
There's big differences between the different types.
They all look anyway. So yeah, we watched Gundam Thunderbolt.
You're a robotist. Anyway, so what was your basic impression of Gundam? I guess kind of Gundam in general and Gundam Thunderbolt.
General impression. I have a lot of impressions about Thunderbolt. It was very short because it was released as 2 sets of 4 OVAs, correct?
Kind of, yeah. They were actually released on the web. So they were kind of web OVAs.
Yeah.
As opposed to the traditional.
So it was very fast paced in terms of the story. I think the whole war aspect of Gundam and the whole tiny child riding in big robots, very stressful. I guess they're not always children.
There's no children in Thunderbolt. No. It's all actual soldiers.
I guess I'm just dragging back the memories from Wing, but yes.
Well, the original Gundam was a child. Gundam Wing was children. Obviously, the big famous one now is Iron-Blooded Orphans, and as the name suggests, they're children.
And orphans?
Maybe.
Spoiler alert.
Build Fighters is entirely about children who make plastic Gundams and fight them.
So as a general, my impression of Gundam, that's the impression I have. And so going into Thunderbolt, it was not what I expected at all. It was very dark, very serious. And I'm sure we'll discuss this in a little bit, but the Gundams are not the good guys.
Hold on, what?
The way they're portrayed in Thunderbolt is they're not the good guys. They're Zeon's, the Zeon Alliance. Is that what they're called?
The Principality of Zeon.
Yes. They are kind of the underdog. I was rooting for them the whole time.
I'm sure there are people who'll be very glad to hear that. But no, yeah, the 2 basic sides for Thunderbolt is part of what's called Universal Century Gundam, which is what the original series was, and everything that directly followed that is part of Universal Century, where you have the Earth Federation and the Principality of Zeon.
Okay. And then you also said something like it was set during the 1 Year War?
Yes.
Okay. They didn't explain any of that in the show, because there really wasn't any time, and I guess they assume that only Gundam fans will watch this, not baby newbies who have never seen anything before.
Well, that said, the show itself was pretty well put together.
Oh, yeah. Like, the animation was amazing.
As coming as a long fan of Gundam, it was gorgeous, gorgeous animation. The way that they just portrayed all the mobile suits and all the designs and everything, and yeah, we're very well done in that way. What do you think about, like, beyond just visually, what do you think about the production and the pacing and all of that?
The pacing was, like I said, it felt a little rushed. As somebody who's never really seen it, I was a little confused at times, and I knew you were explaining a lot to me. But it's also based on a manga, which I believe is getting an English translation by Viz Media, and I want to pick that up now in order to get a better idea of what is sort of more of the details behind events, because it does seem to jump from one thing to the next. The fight scenes are really cool, though.
Yeah. Well, what we saw was 8 pretty much regular-sized anime episodes, which has also been released as 2 movie versions. But the manga is 15 volumes.
Ah, a little long then.
I think it's 15 volumes, or something like that. It might be 14. But an interesting thing about it is that the same year that this started coming out, they were releasing another series of Gundam OVAs.
Were they?
Called Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin.
Okay.
And
you told me to watch that one too, I believe.
The Origin in the manga is pretty much a retelling of the original Gundam story, but done in a way they didn't have the ability to do back in the 70s when it first came out. But what's interesting about the OVAs that came out for it is they released that one as more traditional OVAs, where you have to go out and buy each episode separately. And there were 6 episodes, and they were each something like an hour or so long, so more like short films.
Yeah.
But they only adapted, I think, like 1 or 2 volumes from the middle of the manga.
Really?
To explain the back character of the key rival character.
Wait,
or the backstory of the key character from the original Gundam.
Oh, from the original Gundam, not from Thunderbolt. So they're not related to Thunderbolt.
So yeah, so it's interesting that they would spend 6 short film lengths to explain that, while on the other hand, in the same time period, we get 8 gorgeously animated episodes that feel so disjointed.
Yeah, well, they didn't, like, okay, so I feel like I'm splitting them into part 1 and part 2, because the first 4 episodes were released in 2015, and the second 2 were released in 2017, and the first, part 1 felt like a contained story from start to finish. It's this conflict between these 2 pilots who come across each other on the battlefield, and therefore they have to fight each other, because reasons, and so that felt a lot better paced. Also, it had a lot more fighting in, so it was a lot more interesting to watch. Whereas the second half was kind of suddenly they're on Earth, and there's a cult.
Yeah, there was,
and I'm really confused.
It was really oddly disjointed, because the first half of it, the first 4 episodes, it's just as you were saying. You have a nice, concise little war story that follows essentially the story of 2 people in a war zone during a larger war. And what was really weird for it as a Gundam fan was the end of episode 4 lingers on a shot of that kind of asteroid colony, which is called Otaku, which is a big thing in the original Gundam. And then the second season doesn't start with Otaku. It doesn't even start in space. You're on Earth. And it's like, what am I doing here? Why are we here? Why is everyone here?
Yeah. It didn't have any... it kind of vaguely said, oh, suddenly the characters are kind of from here to here, but it didn't really explain why. You're right.
Yeah.
But that is one... Okay, so that did remind me, is one thing I liked, at least about the first half, was it was a good contained war story. And what I really liked was the fact that sort of war isn't very nice. War is very troubling, and it kind of messes you up, and it's like, so one thing the reason I felt the Zeons were more empathetic is, for one thing, like, it starts off with our main character from the Gundam side, the Fedis? Yeah, the Fedi side, and he kind of goes out for battle, and he comes back, and he's like, where's the captain? And they're like, oh, she's in her room and she's crying. So he goes in there, and she's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't order people to their deaths. And he like grabs her and like is just smirking and yanks her and like forces himself upon her, even though she's like clearly really upset, and also his superior officer. So like, for one thing, in my books, I was like, that's a bad guy move. And then they flip over to the Zeons, who are very empathetic. They've lost people. They're absolutely fine to cry. And I feel like they were a lot more empathetic towards their colleagues and the people around them. Whereas the Feddies were very cold-hearted and just mean.
And that's our two main characters mostly. You've got Io, who's the guy you don't like for the Feddies, and you've got Daryl, who's the main character for the Zeon.
Yes, Daryl.
But what about when you expand past that? I mean, the captain herself, as you could see, was clearly incredibly empathetic for her crew, because what's got her so torn up is that she can't keep ordering her men out to die in the Thunderbolt sector. Well, on the other side, you've got like the captain, one of the lead scientists for the Zeon, who, spoilers, order an amputation of a guy's arm so he can be a better pilot.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like at least, again, it was probably because of the portrayal of women, at least in this, is that she, at least the head scientist, she was very upset and very torn up that she had to do that. But you're right in saying that there were a couple of people on the Zeon side who just didn't give a crap about the soldiers. But they also didn't really linger on them as much as sort of the other characters.
That's true. So walking away from Thunderbolt, you're pretty sure that Zeon are the good guys.
Oh yeah, they're 100% the good guys. Zig Zeon.
Zig Zeon. One of the big things about this also is being with the way it was released and everything, you get a full surround sound experience from it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's some clear audio cues about who you might be watching. Do you have anything to say about that from watching it?
Yeah, that's good. I felt like it was Kids on the Slope in space.
You're going to have to explain a bit more.
Okay, so Kids on the Slope is about jazz music, and Io, who's with the Feddies, he loves jazz music and he's always listening to jazz music when he fights. And on the flip side, Daryl with the Zeons is always playing pop music. And so when you're in the middle of a battle and there's lots going on screen, normally you can tell whose perspective you're looking at the battle from, depending on what music is playing. And I thought that was a really fantastic way to introduce not only the characters themselves and sort of their personalities, but also to kind of give the watcher a cue about who you're kind of watching at that time and who you're kind of rooting for in that moment.
I thought it was kind of a shame that they didn't keep that motif going as strong in the second half.
Yeah, they really didn't.
They still mention, obviously, Io's still got his jazz obsession, and you can still see Daryl's radio from here to there, but it didn't have the same just feel or the same commitment that I felt the first season had.
I think it's because in the second half, Io and Daryl aren't fighting against each other as much as they were in the first one. They're kind of off doing their own battles.
In the same place.
In the same place, but not against each other.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that you go from having such a rivalry to just not having it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, there's one thing is that the music, how they did I wasn't too sure if they were real jazz songs and real pop songs because it was so well made. But then listening to the end music, the end song was pretty much different every single time, and they always showed the lyrics, and the lyrics are really weird English on them. I was like, yeah, these were clearly made for the show because the English is so weird. But if I hadn't seen the lyrics, then I would have had no idea that they weren't like real, quote unquote, real pop or jazz songs that had been released in the charts beforehand.
Yeah, I have no idea about the jazz. I don't know nearly enough jazz to recognize it beyond the standards like Take 5 or something.
Yeah, but the pop, it was definitely...
The pop stood out a bit, yeah. I did like also how they kind of went, it's not your modern top 100 pop song. It's definitely got that classic feel to it, which kind of fits the image of everything they show you about Zeon, especially the little radio he's constantly carrying around. So you mentioned the battle scenes at the beginning, and you mentioned about how you felt that certain characters were more empathetic than others. One of the things that Gundam always kind of gets critiqued for nowadays, especially when you look at shows like Build Fighters, is being a toy commercial. But the original Gundam was supposed to have a very strong anti-war message to it.
Oh, really?
Kind of like what happened to Godzilla. Where the first Godzilla was anti-war, and then slowly it just became rubber monsters fighting each other. How do you feel about this one?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because at the end of every single episode there was an advert for Gunpla. And it's like, here are the Gundams and the Zeons that you saw in this show, and others. Go buy them. It didn't even say that. It just posted pictures of the models. But, I mean, I can understand that anime does not make money. It costs a lot of money to produce, especially, I mean, imagine something very high quality like this OVA. And you just, like, producers, anime companies, animators don't get any money back from that, and where they make their money is in the toys. So it makes 100% that modern Gundam is just one big toy commercial. On the flip side, I really like how this one wasn't a toy commercial, even though it was a toy commercial. It's like, it was a toy commercial in the fact that at the end they showed, they obviously had brand new designs for pretty much every 2 episodes. They had a new Gundam or a new Zeon pop out, because I know that because you were commenting on it. Otherwise I would have never noticed.
Some of my commenting was just commenting on classic favorites that showed up.
Oh, okay. But then at the end of the episode they'd have an actual advert for the toys. But I do appreciate that it was very well animated, so it wasn't just a, we're gonna make this cheap, pump it out and make a profit on the toys. It was a, we want to put a lot of thought in this and a lot of dedication, and then we make money off the toys.
One of my favorite designs in the show, they actually haven't released a toy for. So, not that anyone in Bandai will ever listen to this.
Thank God.
But if you do, the Thunderbolt version of the At Guy would be really cool to have next to my Thunderbolt Zaku 1 and my Thunderbolt Zaku 2.
Oh, those are from Thunderbolt?
The ones that I have, yeah.
Oh.
Well, one of my Zaku 2s, the other one's from Origin.
Okay. You see, to me, I'm just like, it's a Gundam.
No, none of those are Gundams. There were 3 different Gundam designs in the shows, and none of those were Gundam.
It's a Zeon. Is that what they're called?
I mean, that's... Yes, dear, that's very nice. So, you mentioned it briefly at the beginning. You are a complete neophyte, a newbie when it comes to Gundams.
A neophyte.
Neophyte, yes.
A neophyte.
Neophyte,
okay.
yes.
A newbie. Okay.
Yes. When it comes to Gundam.
Yes.
As we can see clearly, she doesn't know her Zaku from her Gundam.
Yes. I am learning because of you. I learned it from watching you.
Good. Do you think this is a good jumping on point for a newbie? Were you completely lost without someone next to you to kind of explain things here and there?
I think...
Was it worth watching if you've never seen a Gundam, even if you're not thinking about watching more?
Yeah, I think it's totally worth watching at least the first 4 episodes, even if you're not interested in watching any other Gundam, because the first 4 is a very good, contained, entertaining stories that I highly enjoyed. And I think even if I didn't have you there kind of explaining the history behind everything to me, I would have highly enjoyed it. But on the flip side, I had no idea kind of... I turned to you a lot of the times and was like, why is this happening? Why is this? Why is this? Why? Because I wanted to learn more about it, but they weren't giving me anything. And because I'm a newbie, I have no idea about anything. And if I didn't have you there to kind of help explain that to me, I think I would have been very lost.
I think it also really doesn't help that, as we said before, the second season kind of throws you in the middle of a new situation without explaining how you got from point A to point B.
Yeah, that's why I'd say just watch the first 4 episodes.
And it also introduced a weird kind of third faction.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem with that is that the third faction is a weird Buddhist cult that uses stolen mobile suits of both Fetty and Zeon design. So for someone who's new...
Yeah, I was really confused about who they were fighting. Like, wait, is that the Zeons they're fighting? No, wait, no, they're the cult. Okay. Wait, they're fighting the Gundams? No, wait, no, they're the cult again. Okay.
So
it was really confusing.
That part is weird. But definitely the first 4 episodes, I think, do a pretty good job at telling a contained story.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there were things you asked me, like, why are they fighting over this sector? Why is it so important? What's this? What's that? But those didn't seem to have a bearing on the message that's trying to be told.
No. That's 100% for sure. Which is why I think if you've never seen Gundam before and you kind of want to give it a try, that's probably a good place to start.
You were mentioning that you wanted to go off and read the Thunderbolt manga.
Yes, I do.
To figure out more of the story behind it. Does this make you want to read or watch other Gundams?
I don't know. I think I would read or watch other Gundam if you recommended something to me. Because I, believe it or not, trust your judgment.
Aha!
And I think one of the issues I had with Wing when I tried to watch it years ago was that I didn't like any of the characters, even though I know that's blasphemy as a Fujoshi trash and as a fangirl, but I found them really annoying. Maybe if I went back now, I would actually enjoy it a lot more, but I don't know. I think I liked the more serious tone that this one had.
As a Gundam fan, and this might also get me excommunicated, I've never really cared for Wing either.
But you're also a guy, so it's kind of known as the girls' Gundam, quote unquote.
I guess. I don't know. Gundam Wing, I really felt is when it's, because part of trying to tell a war story is the guy who created it really wanted to move away from the giant super robots that came before. This wasn't supposed to be your Gigantor or your Majinger or your Voltron or any of that. It was supposed to be more grounded and realistic.
Wow, it went completely the opposite direction.
And when you start getting into things like Wing, as a kid who grew up in the 90s and saw some of the old Toonami ads, the word Gundam, I will never hear it without the back of my head going, "It's a Gundam!" And just all those different types of things. But I agree that the only good thing that came out of Wing was probably the design of the enemy grunt suit. Everything else I just didn't care for.
Yes. I need to watch it. Well, okay, so...
Gundam, a good thing about Gundam Wing is that it does take place in like an alternate timeline.
Oh,
so you don't,
no. I hate it when
it doesn't
do that.
It doesn't even... Except for the fact there's giant robots, it doesn't relate to the original show at all.
Okay.
Barring name and robots.
I find it so annoying when shows it's an alternate universe or it's an alternate timeline. I'm like, just put everything in the same universe and the same timeline and make it all interact. Why do you have to... Anyway.
Well, if you don't like that, you don't want to watch Wing, you don't want to watch G Gundam, you don't want to watch Seed or Seed Destiny, you don't want to watch Build Fighters, you don't want to watch SD Gundam.
Oh my god, how many Gundam are there?
Oh my god, there's a million of them.
So, okay, so if, as a jumping point after this show, what other Gundam would you recommend that I watch?
Also, having watched Toonami and Gundam, the other one that was really big that they were showing on the Midnight Run was 08th MS Team.
Oh, I've heard you... That rings a bell. I think you've talked about that before.
I have talked about it before.
A number of times.
And it's because it's actually somewhat similar to this, and where it doesn't focus on your superpowered new type heroes. It focuses on the grunts who are stuck in the middle of a hellish war trying to get the job done, but also trying to maintain their humanity.
Oh, I think you kind of described it to me as Band of Brothers, but robots?
No. This one is Romeo and Juliet, but robots.
Oh, okay. Which one did you describe as Band of Brothers, but robots?
I have no idea.
Okay, maybe we were talking about something else.
And then actually another one that I haven't watched yet, I've just read some of, but it's supposed to be really good, is I would recommend the Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin movies that have come out. Because again, they are gorgeously animated. The battle scenes are a little bit more obviously CG than the one we last watched. I actually don't even... The one Thunderbolt's so well animated, I don't know if those battle scenes, where the CG started and where it ended.
Yeah, good point. I'm not entirely sure.
Because a lot of times in anime you can tell, but they were really well done in Thunderbolt. Which also might be why the episodes are shorter compared to the short movies of The Origin. But it's supposed to be really good. It looks more at political drama and intrigue as opposed to, yay, giant robots smashing each other up. And it tells the backstory of one of the most famous characters.
Okay, so I should give it a watch.
Whenever you see one of the Zeon mobile suits, so that's going to be like the Zaku's and things like that, and it's red, That's one of the mobile suits of Char. Yes, the one on the shelf is red. And
I looked over to the shelf.
The origin OVAs tell the backstory of how Char became Char, as well as somewhat the rise of Zeon, which I think is a big thing to know, because this whole, like, you walked out of this going, Zeon seems like the good guys, so it might be good to know a little bit more about Zeon.
Okay, so maybe if you are a newbie, you should watch Origin before watching Thunderbolt. Kind of drove right in the middle there.
Yeah, but it was fun.
It was fun.
So, from the sound of it, you're giving me free reign to suggest more Gundam shows.
Well, since we've started doing this podcast, you kind of have free reign to recommend anything, and I have free reign to recommend anything to you, so be careful with what you wish for.
That sounds vaguely threatening.
Only a little.
Only a little. Is there anything else you want to say about the show as we're getting ready to log off?
No, I think I covered pretty much everything. Yeah, no, I think I covered pretty much everything.
Well, then, thanks for watching Thunderbolt with me.
Thanks for watching it with me.
And I guess that's it for this episode of Otafu Susume, or Recommendations from My Otaku Spouse.
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter at AnnieBrosCreative, or on our website, as well as our other familial podcasts, www.anniebroscreative.com.
They're not affiliated with me.
I'm sure they say the same about you.
They don't know I'm live.
That's true. You are a zombie.
Yay. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.